store is at 7 July 2005. Their first store is opened at Jalan Tunku Abdul Rahman and expanded to the overall country in Malaysia. Other than that, Mr. DIY also has expanded their store in the ASEAN country such as Indonesia, Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand. Also, Mr. DIY has collaborated with the large malls such as Giant, Aeon, and Tesco. And Mr. DIY has 10 categories of their product such as jewelry and cosmetic, toys, computer and mobile accessories, and hardware. The mission of the Mr. DIY is to become the home largest improvement in the Malaysia and Brunei. And their mission is to create a globally recognized retail brand. Other than that, to offer diverse retail expenses catering for different customer segments and to maintain a wide variety, good quality and holding for money.
For the key competitors and its market share, it could be seen that Mr. DIY has led the industry for home improvement sector since 2020. Even though they have an increased number of competitors locally and also foreign, the company is advanced in so many ways, such as the store distributions, the number of key products category, and more. So among all competitors that were available, our group has chosen two competitors which are known as Minso and also Nissin. From the table, it shows that the revenue of Mr. DIY compares to both of the company, and it is no doubting that Mr. DIY managed to get a better revenue than others, which contribute to their market share value.
Next, for the existing objective of Mr. DIY, so their marketing objective is to encourage responses from their customers. So they make a solid platform to enable them to connect with the customers. In addition, for the financial existing objective for Mr. DIY is they provide convenience, more choices to the customers, accessibility to reach the customers, and their product is always with the motto, always low price. So for the existing objective for the profit is they manage to have strong record and grow stable in the Malaysia with the increasing profit every year. Next is existing strategy for Mr. DIY. Currently, they manage to focus their store and expand them into 3 brands, which is Mr. DIY, Mr. Store, and Mr. Dollar. With that strategy, they managed to have increasing in their revenue in Q3 year 2020. For the financial existing strategies, they boost their online order speed process. They invest 5 million to build a robot in their warehouse to process the customer's order in a short time. Lastly, there is the profit in the existing strategy of Mr. DIY. They create the sustainable growth via the Mr. Dollar, Mr. Toys, and Mr. DIY. With this strategy, they manage to get more profit, and their 3 brands manage to expand to every country in the Malaysia.
The group has reported 2.6 billion ringgit in total revenue for the financial year ended December 2020, up 12.5% from 2.3 billion ringgit in the previous year. This was due to the strong second half result despite the closure mandatory of MCO and positive contribution of the new added store during that year. The group also announced 22 million ringgit in other operating income for the year ended in December 2020, up from 10.3 million from the previous year. Other than that, rental cuts of approximately 10.44 million ringgit earned by stores due to the mandatory closure of MCO, and 3.9 million in management fees for services provided by the group associated parties. Administrative and operational expenses grew 46.1% and 20.6% year by year, respectively due to company growth, which result in a rise in payroll costs, costs associated with business license and advertising activities. Okay, so Mr. DIY pay attention to what their customer wishes and desires. So they are willing to take initiative and time to ensure that they provide what they are promised by doing tons of marketing campaigns while still supplying the products to the customer with wider selections of items in 10 categories. Other than that, they also have a successful billboard plan that is introduced for every 6 months that is still stay active and consistent with their campaign activities. Mr. DIY has previously run multiple campaigns with slogan like di mana ada jalan di situ ada Mr. DIY in 2019 and Mr. DIY janji paku penuh pun murah lagi in 2018. Mr. DIY always try to educate their customer by producing a few DIY content and cool hacks using the items that they sell in store on social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and their own website. In hopes that by creating this content or like something cool hack like that, customer will be inspired to develop their own DIY creations along with creativities and create the DIY cultures itself among Malaysians. Last but not least, Mr. DIY is also collaborating with e-wallet service providers to make sure that their customer shopping experience is more convenient. They believe that by supporting this payment method, it will provide the consumer a smoother checkout experience, also with providing them a better benefits, discount and reward.
Performance. So there are two common methods that are usually used in order to evaluate the divisional performance of one company. The first one is return on investment, and then the second one is residual income. Residual income is some amount of money generated after we have deduct all the transaction needed in order to generate sales. Therefore, in the annual report of Mr. DIY during the first quarter of 2021, conveys an amount of net profit 124.79 million ringgit, previously lowered at 58.46 million ringgit. So during the pandemic, while Mr. DIY are going against the green, while the other retailers are scaling down, Mr. DIY is having a mass extension of operation. Mr. DIY currently planning to open another 175 stores nationally. Product line or services performance. So the company is the largest home improvement retailer in Malaysia with a market share of 29% in 2019. This is mitigated by the financial revenue of 2019, and the management of the company seems to be progressing smoothly. Whereas the company recently introduced new brands to the Malaysian market, which is Mr. Dollar and Mr. Toy, that provide 700 job opportunities for Malaysians, and the company is currently maintaining 710 locations of their store. So being a corporate responsible organization is important for a company, especially the public listed one, to build brand recognition and to instill empathy among workers. Mr. DIY have conducted more than 3 CSR this year, 4 to be precise, 4, which is ended in March 31st, of course. The company have united with Sorok Tinis International Club Damansara SID and visited 3 households to deliver domestic and personal care products for those who require assistance. Next, Mr. DIY have given a face shield and a protective mask for PRM workers who work as a frontliner during the pandemic. Not to mention, Mr. DIY have also conducted a You Share, We Donate program inspired by a True Tales event to celebrate the return of their campaign to help the Malaysian Relief Agency MRA assistance for frontliner workers. This short story is a tribute for frontliner who can't celebrate their raya during the pandemic. So a philanthropic non-profit organization, MRA, will receive the donation of every share that every time people share, they will receive a donation. So Mr. DIY received 3.9 million in views and 4,220 shares. Throughout the research, we have found we have identified 4 problems for Mr. DIY, include major and minor. So the first problem is oversaturation of outlet. Oversaturation of outlet are seen as comforting for customer but not for the investor. It is worsening for them. And then the second one is limited flexibility in pricing, which is the minor problem. The economic situation during the pandemic is uncertain, but however, the company need to maintain a lower price since it is its motto, lower price always. And then the third one is e-commerce contribution is minimal. However, the founder believes that the brick and mortar is more profitable to them, but they also have introduced e-robotic warehouse in Seri Kembangan. And then the last one is same store growth is declining, which is a major problem that we identify. But however, Mr. DIY are going against the grains. The firm announced a year-to-year downturn in SST in 2017 and 2019, but it have recovered from that.
So for the new mission for Mr. DIY is Mr. DIY provide new and latest technology to make sure the customers satisfied at a maximum level with their product and services. Also expanding our store to the international level to grow and increase the profitability of the store while protecting the environment and encourage customers to skip plastic bags. Mr. DIY adhere to believe that good ethics is a good business, and all they can do is to strive and take care of their employees and the shareholders.
With an expected of 29.1% market share by revenue in 2019, Mr. DIY is the current market leader in Malaysia's home improvement retail sector. Its 640 outlets as of September 2020 greatly outnumbered its nearest competitors, which is One Stop Superstore. With 10 categories in each store, including hardware, household, car accessories, stationery, gift, jewellery and cosmetic, Mr. DIY offers a wide selection of products over 16,000 at always low price. Mr. DIY shows how much they value their customer by their excellent customer service, which engage with customer online and listens to any comments that they may have for them, whether it's favorable or negative. The strength of Mr. DIY can be seen in their catchphrase always low price, as well as their commitment in offering the utmost experience to the consumer, which result in creating a positive difference in their daily life. And aside from that, Mr. DIY has a plan to create more stores in the future so that they may reach out of a wider range of customer and location. One of the weakness of Mr. DIY is that some of their best-selling items are always out of stock, either in store or online. This will lead to customer dissatisfaction and frustrations. Also will drive them to shop at another shop that has the product and may not return to Mr. DIY for any more purchase in the future. Furthermore, customer usually values warranties to provide them assurance of defective item that fail to perform satisfactorily over the warranty period. Other electrical and hardware stores can provide longer warranty periods compared to Mr. DIY. Unfortunately, while it expanded its shop network, Mr. DIY has reported a year-to-year fall of same-store sales growth SSSG from year 2017 to 2019, which is a concerning sign. This is because Mr. DIY has to close temporarily some of their stores due to implementations of MCO. In June 2018, Mr. DIY launched its dedicated e-commerce website with third-party delivery service provider that will fulfill their orders through the website. In November 2017 and November 2018, the company has begun selling its product on third-party e-commerce retail platforms such as Shopee and Lazada. Furthermore, Mr. DIY should upgrade to mall, which is basically Mr. DIY stores. There are Mr. Dollar and Mr. Toy in one building, as it is more easier for the customer to find what they need in one building. Okay, for trades, new entrants have a substantial impact on Mr. DIY capacity to make profit. So other strategies such as advertising may have a positive impact to the industry to increase the demand and improve product differentiation. Other than that, even if technology advances can improve production efficiency, it can be costly at the time. This is because the employees need to learn how to adapt with the technological changes, and the employers have to give a proper training to the employees to make sure that the productions run smoothly and efficient. Last but not least, for trades, since Mr. DIY used third-party delivery for their e-commerce website, there are few consequences that they have to face in case of anything happen. Mr. DIY only delivers their customers' order using standard packaging materials and does not provide any special packaging at the moment. The differences of shipping fees can be troublesome to some customers, and Mr. DIY only offer free shipping for purchase above 30 ringgit and limited to only 30 kgs. Normal delivery usually take 3 to 7 days to arrive. However, if the delivery gets delayed using any peak sales or promotional periods, it will take more days than that.
On the line is the financial performance. So the profitability of the company is very high, and then the liquidity is average. Also, the leverage is also average, but the activity is very high. So our comment is the forecasted annual earning growth for Mr. DIY is 19.8% as at 31st March 2021. The revenue declared to be 2.895 billion ringgit with the earning of 403 and 490 million. Hence, it is above the saving rates of 3.6%. Therefore, the earnings are forecasted to rise faster than the Malaysian market, which is at 14.3% per year. Over the year, Mr. DIY earning growth was 35%, has exceeded the SRI, specialty retail industry, negative 40.9%.
So, Mr. DIY space is at aggressive position. So, for the BCG metric, based on the annual report in year 2020, Mr. DIY is at Star Tools, since this store lead the market share with the highest percentage compared to their competitors, which is Nissan and Seoul. The growth of the Mr. DIY is high since Mr. DIY have many stores in the Malaysian and the Asian country. Other than that, Mr. DIY managed to grab the chances with expand their online shopping. Also, based on the annual report in year 2020, Mr. DIY managed to get the high profit and revenue and their return on investment also high. Lastly, they managed to be a market leader in their industry and lead the market.
Now for the current performance of Mr. DIY based on the grand strategy metrics, from every value that has been adapted and applied by Mr. DIY, it could be interpreted that the company has achieved a strong competitive position and also a rapid growth. There are multiple factors that contribute to this position now, which are market development, product development, backward integration, forward integration, and more. Why do people went to Mr. DIY compared to other stores? So since Mr. DIY start getting bigger, they use their revenue, they use their funds for the business by promoting the products available in media social, catalog, and their official website. It could increase the number of loyal customers and more. Other reason is they also use forward integration, which different from Nissin, their competitor. Mr. DIY uses physical and online stores that sells their product to their customers directly without using a third party.
For the competitive profile metric, we have includes approximately 8 critical success factors, which is market share, brand recognition, location, product quality, price competitiveness, financial performance, corporate social responsibility, and the advertising. Mr. DIY scored an amount of 4, leaving the other competitors behind, which is Nissin and Ninso. Ninso stated to be 3.6 of a total competitive profile metric, and then Nissin is 2.65. It highlights that the market share of Mr. DIY is very high compared to the others. As we all know, Mr. DIY is the largest home improvement retailer in Malaysia. Also, the company location is very strategic compared to the other. Mr. DIY usually is a stand-alone building, and it even located in a rural area. Next on the line is Mr. DIY is very famous among Malaysian, as the advertising is very effective compared to the other company, Ninso and Nissin, the competitors. Metric analysis, it indicates that we need to use backward integration, as it consists of SWOT analysis, IE metric, grand strategy metric, BCG metric, and then the next is horizontal integration, as we included SWOT metric, IE metric, space metric, and also BCG metric. And the last one is conglomerate diversification with SWOT metric, space metric, grand strategy metric, and also BCG metric. SPM include all the SWOT analysis, strength and weaknesses of Mr. DIY is more on the backward integration side, with the total amount of 8.84, whereas the others is average at 3 point.
Next is long-term objective for Mr. DIY. Firstly is reduce the cost of production by 8% over the 3 years. By doing this objective, Mr. DIY can manage to get high profit and revenue and reduce costs. The high cost and production will make the business is getting low and unable to grow more. By reducing the cost of production, Mr. DIY able to utilize the expansion of their business. Next is being a market leader. As we know, the market growth of Mr. DIY is the highest, but in the long term, we don't know that the new competitors will increase their growth. So for the long-term objective, they must to still lead their industry and being the market leader. Being a market leader, we also will manage for the Mr. DIY to lead and hire large economy scale to cut the cost per unit of product, and they have the advantage to set the price and control the market. Next is provide sufficient training and knowledge to the employees. With the high skill and knowledge for the employees, Mr. DIY able to get the more return compared to the previous year.
The purpose strategy is backward integration, which is Mr. DIY is expected to improve their production efficiency as well as cost saving. For strategy, they have a successful billboard strategy that they want to keep their campaign efforts to stay active and consistent, which is they implement them for every 6 months. They prefer to use bold, creative, factual taglines for billboard campaigns to convey the idea that they are the largest home improvement retailer with the widest choice of products at lowest price, always in multiple places. Mr. DIY Logistic and Procurement departments are led by Tan Yu-Ye, the company's founder and executive vice chairman. Mr. DIY is non-independent executive director and chief executive officer is Ong Chu Jin Adrian. And both men share responsibility for the company's day-to-day operation with specialized roles in corporate management and affairs as well as financial control. Brahmal anak lelaki Vasudevan, the founder and the CEO of Creative, also serve as non-independent non-executive director on the board of Mr. DIY.
For this system, Mr. DIY founder strongly recounts that the company are more profitable on the bricks and mortar sites, in which they have invested some amount of money for the POS, point of sales, to make the company grow simple and efficient. It will boost the transaction effectiveness. And then next, in order to compete with the technology advancement, Mr. DIY recently introduced e-commerce warehouse robotic in Seri Kembangan. As a result, the efficiency has increased by 200%. Next is style. Style in this area is referring to the leadership. So Mr. DIY leadership is very general. Mr. DIY, according to them, leadership style necessities a significant amount of control for the organization of people processes in order for employees to align themselves with the motive of the organization. So they will have to double check their ideas by ensuring that all the alignment is measured and monitored. Effective measures aligned with the strategic goal will produce an significant outcome.
So, for the share value in strategy implementation is Mr. DIY contribute 1 million of face masks to the PDRM as they act as a frontliner to protect us. Other than that, Mr. DIY also collaborate with the Optimist International Club Damansara to help wherever that needs their hands. Mr. DIY provide them with their personal care and household products.
As we all know, in McKinsey 7S policy, it consisted of many points of view that contributed to the company, including staff. So since company normal structure consisted of many workers or staff from upper to bottom line, it shows that the staff inside the company work as a support system, which makes the activities become systematic. For Mr. DIY, the company makes sure that everyone get the job opportunities, and the system from them make people apply for the vacancy easier. For example, the vacancy for hiring is on Mr. DIY official website. There, Mr. DIY provide every details needed and requirement for the future applicants. In 2020, our country has faced COVID-19 and it impact negatively for the unemployment rate. Even though Mr. DIY couldn't run their business normally in the start, they still help Malaysians to apply for job by opening 1,000 slots for different jobs in their company. Moreover, they also aim to open more doors for people with disabilities to get a job easier, which means that the company want to train and does not discriminate people with disabilities because they could also do jobs normally like us.
For skills, to help maintain the quality of employee-customer interactions, The retailer offers two main training programs, which are the Supervisor Apprentice Program (SAP) and the Manager Apprentice Program (MAP). The SAP takes 3 months to complete, whereas the MAP takes 6. This is one of the Mr. DIY initiative, while its business is expanding and all that. So they want to provide a good qualities and integrity on a regular basis.
So, for the recommendation, we recommend for the Mr. DIY to continue provide always low price, since most of their customers know this motto and target this store to buy their household product, toys, hardware, and the others in that store. Mr. DIY has known with the store that provide the low price to the customers. The next recommendation is increase the stock of best-selling product. Since one of the weaknesses of the Mr. DIY is short stock in best-selling product, so we recommend them to sell their product based on demand that has been request from the customers. If the demand of the certain product has been increased, then Mr. DIY should sell that product more, since the demand of that product is at high level. So, for the last recommendation, we recommend for the Mr. DIY to train more on their employees. Mr. DIY should focus more to train their employees, such as Supervisor Apprentice Program and Manager Apprentice Program, to develop the skill and knowledge, and how to use technology such as robot, since nowadays the technology is a need for the business to going up and compete with their competitors. The efficient employees will give more return to the business and reduce the cost of damage.
For the conclusion part, Mr. DIY proved that their vision and mission is possible to achieve now and also in the future. Why? Because Mr. DIY provide multiple products with the cheapest price available in Malaysia, which has already been compared with the average competitor's price. The current company's motto is always low price, and it is stated in their mission. Next, it has an advantage of attracting more people to come to their store because of their store distribution planning. Mr. DIY target to open 100 stores every year, so it could be visited everywhere by anyone. It has become a reality because now 734 stores are available in Malaysia. In addition to that, since the company is getting bigger, they improvise their management structure and also increase the use of technology. For instance, the use of e-commerce warehouse. It is to make sure the process of selling their products become easier and systematic. This shows that the company always plans ahead what needs to be done in their position, so the company will move forward with a better project, get an acknowledgement, and more. With that, Mr. DIY proved one small store could achieve bigger chance to improve when the strategy applied are working hand to hand with other factors.